Hello and welcome to the Beef Edge, the Teagasc Beef Podcast, for all your latest news, information and advice for Irish beef farmers. I'm Catherine Egan, and on this week's episode, it is the fourth podcast in the Beef Edge Masterclass series. I'm joined by James Madigan, suckler farmer, as he outlines his suckling to finishing system, with bulls finished under 16 months and heifers under 20 months. I first asked James to describe his farming system.
Thanks for having me, Catherine. Yeah, we're farming here in South Kilkenny, on the Thomastown-Ballyhale border. The land is split between the two parishes. And in the home block here in not near Knocktofer, we have 150 acres. And we have two blocks in Bonskeha and Castlecoscar, which are in Thomastown, a 22-acre block and a 63-acre block. It's relatively very good land, free drain and ground, very good grassland. So we have an ideal setup there for our 100 cows. We have 100 sucklers, split autumn calving and spring calving 50-50. To the 100 females is brought to the bull. That's including cows and heifers. And anything is empty then is culled, and we hope to have around 85 to 90 calving down in the whole year.
And how has calving gone this spring?
Not without complications this spring. Now we had an awful lot of calf. We started calving a month earlier. We normally calf in the spring from January, February and March, and we decided to calf a month earlier to try and cut out March calves, because we were ending up with weanings a bit too late in the back end of the year, and they were not really suitable for the under 16-month bulls. They were in the shed too long the following spring. So we started calving about mid-December with heifers, and calving was no problem. Everything is hunky-dory. No problem with the calving issues itself, but it's just health after that. Good dose of scour, which is there, and this rotavirus. It's cured enough, but it's very labour-intensive now. But we have it under control at the moment. We had an awful lot of calves in January, and we're down to 6 cows today. Now we have only 6 cows left to calf, so we were really after flying through them. Other than that, we lost one calf. She was breached. Took it to no section or anything. I took him myself, but the calf was dead. And I had a heifer then lay on her calf as well. That's the only losses there we have so far.
Overall, a busy spring. How do you plan on managing the cows in the coming weeks before turnout?
The cows, the first 20 to 25, the calf will go back out on mats, and calves are crept back. And as from then on, then we try and slip out a few. At the moment now, we have 5 cows and 5 calves gone to grass since around the 1st of February. And we do that. Now the weather forecast is not great this week, John, but snow. So I'd have another 5 gone this week. As cordons them, tagging them and vaccination them, dehorning them, I'd slip out 5. It takes an awful lot of pressure off the shed. Plus it tightens your calving spread as well. You know, these cows gone back to grass will come back bulling quicker. And the first 20 or 25 a calf, there'll be no panic, you know. So yeah, they'll be slipped out to grass now over the next few weeks, and the bulls' breeding season will start around Valentine's Day now to try and get them early again next year.
And what is the breeding policy on the farm?
For the spring herd, we breed our own replacements off the autumn herd. We have a maternal Charolais bull. He's by Sesame. He's easy calving, and he's run with the autumn herd. We pick out 10 heifers then for calving down then in the spring. They calve around 29-30 months. So they're AI'd them heifers then the first time. We AI'd them limousin.
It's a Charolais stock bull you're using.
Charolais stock bull we're using for replacements. We tried Cemental and that over the years, and really I could see no difference. I had a very milky autumn cows, and really could see no difference in the Charolais. Charolais are good cows, you know, and they had as much milk as the Cementals. And so we decided for management ease and that we went with a maternal Charolais bull. And we have the first batch of heifers calf down this year now. Lovely, they'll make lovely cows, I'd say. You know, time will tell.
Please God. And what are the main tips that you use during the grazing season on the farm?
Well, the cows graze then, sure, they're grazing in 2 groups. and the spring herd, we don't breed any replacements of the spring herd, so they're running with two terminal Charolais bulls, with 3 bulls altogether. They're running 2 groups. Bull power is very important. I think a lot of these bulls are running with too many cows, and they can't cover them. We'd only have 20 to 25 cows per bull, and they're running 2 groups. And we'll start there around Valentine's Day, as I said, running up to the 1st of March. And the bulls will be taken away a little bit earlier now this year. It used to be the 20th of June. We'll go back now to around maybe the 5th or the 10th of June to get rid of these March calves. So they're grazed in 3-acre paddocks, about 6 paddocks per group. And we don't creep forward. We don't forward creep the calves. We just run them all in the one group, because we have a lot of groups of stock around the farm. It's just the management is a bit awkward to see calves going away, and it's easier to keep them together, kind of thing.
And then at weaning time, how do you manage the weaning process?
The weaning then mid-October, even if we could get to the 1st of November. It depends on weather dependent. It's just there's no creep. The calves are fed no creep, bar the bulls. Our bulls are crep fed for about 3 weeks before we wean them. The heifers are not crep fed. The heifers, they'd all just be taken away. They're in the shed, and the cows are one side and the weanings are at the other. Heifers will go back out to grass. Hopefully I get them back out till mid-November. I'd leave a truck with them, give them a kilo or 2 just to keep them ticking over. And the bulls will stay in the shed, and they'll be used to a bit of meal, and they'll be just carried on then and from there. The heifers go back to grass, as I said. There's no panic really housing them. I like to let them get good and strong before they come back in.
And how much meal are the bulls getting at that stage, or what weight would you like to have them at?
The bulls probably averaging around the 400 kilo mark at that stage. Now they'll be ranging. The best of the bulls could be 500 kilos, and the lightest of them could be. You could have a couple of sets of twins and this and that. You could be down as far as 320, 330. So what we do at that stage is just everything is weighed going into the shed, and they're stored then, the bulls, just judging on their weight. If there's any of them from 480 kilos up, they're started to be built up on their finishing diet, and anything is not then is just fed 3 kilos with really good silage. And as corners they meet their 480 kilos, they started to build up as well. We try and do a pen at a time. We buy a few then as well to match in with them as we go along, and just try and make up 2 pens, which will be about 18 to 20 bulls. And the smaller lads then are just stored over the winter, March calves and twins, and that anything that won't meet the under 16-month target. There's no panic. We don't try and push them too much around, and we let them back to grass the 1st of March the following year.
And what are the key targets that you're hitting to ensure the bulls are finished under 16 months for that system?
Yeah, well, your weight for age is huge. Like, we have no issues with time limits here. It's we have no problem getting the bulls finished under 16 months. In fact, we'd start slaughtering at 13 months, 14 months, and 15 months, kind of a thing. There's no issue with as I said, there's the target weight for starting to finish is 480 kilos here, because with the kilo percentage, some of these bulls here on this farm are doing 2.5 kilos a day for some of the finishing period, and they can get too heavy, especially the musclier lads that kill out really well. They get too heavy and go out of spec. So you could start finishing some of them at 500 kilos. It depends now what sort of a bull, but we kind of have a minimum weight of 480, and they're start built up from then.
And what happens with the heifers? How are they managed over the winter?
Store heifers then are spring heifers would come back in then roughly around, it depends on the weather, middle November. They're weighed, they're clipped, and they go on excellent silage now. The silage this year that the bulls are getting and the stores is 76%, and we give them 1.5 kilos a meal, and they're reweighed then at around Christmas after 2 months just to see how they're performing. And we targeted there 0.54 kilos is what to put on from housing till the 30th of December, which we're very happy with that, because it was a bit of a shock to the system when they come in at first, and you'd be wondering would it be thriving or would it be this and that, but that's a great thrive for them. So they're well on target. They'll be last year they would have been hitting the grass on the 15th of January. The year before they were out New Year's Day, but the way January was a tough month this year now, but it was wet and cold, so they're still in the shed, but the very minute now there's a bit of an uptake, they'll hit the grass then.
And what is the plan to finish those?
They'll be finished off grass in October. They will I'll start feeding. There'll be about 30 of a minute now. I'll start feeding them around the 1st of August, give them 2 months feeding, about 3 kilos at grass, and they'll be all slaughtered in October. Our 2020 heifers now, there was the average 347 kilos carcass, and they came into €1,317. They were back last October. They were the spring-born heifers of 2019. Very, very happy with them now. There was no housing involved, and really, really done well. So they did. So hopefully this year now will be a match to that, or even maybe a bit better, you know.
Yeah, that was great. James, you calved the autumn herd in August and September. How do you manage to get them back to grass?
Well, they were calved in last September. They will be normally around any time after the 1st of March. It's the same. They're split into 2 groups again, because there'll be little bulls now are getting hardy, and they'll be in one batch, and heifers will be in another batch. So they'll be running 2 groups. Same story as the spring, really. Your 3 to 4 day paddocks, and 6 paddocks per group. So they'll be weaned then on the 10th of June.
And what's the difference with regard to finishing them bulls from June onwards?
Them bulls then, the best of them bulls now will be housed. They'll be housed straight off of the cows. There'll be a good batch of them bulls now. Will be averaging 90 kilos. So they'll be weaned straight away and housed in around 10 months. They'll be housed straight away, and at that stage then we'd start buying a few bulls to go with them, and I'd have the store bulls coming off of grass and myself as well. So the shed is starting to be filled then for the finishing period. Then anything is not ready then, which they'll go back out to grass again after weaning. They'll be fed 3 kilos at grass. We won't. I wouldn't recommend always be pushing them a little bit. I wouldn't recommend taking them off meal or anything, or just keep giving them a little bit. And they're weighed monthly after that then, and as cardinals to come to 480 kilos, it's the same story. They're housed and clipped and treated for worms and that, and they're finished in accordingly.
How do you manage the replacement heifers for the autumn herd?
Replacement heifers are sourced from a neighbour and a good friend of mine, JJ Barron here. He's next door to me, and we kind of work in tandem. He's a dairy farmer, he's a beef farmer. We work in tandem, selecting bulls, and I buy 8 to 10 heifers off of him as yearlings every springtime. They're just grazed over the summertime, and they're run with my maternal stock bull, Charolais bull, in October. And the heifers out of them then are kept for the spring herd.
And you've no issues calving those?
No, very, very little now.
And how are you achieving the 76 DMD silage that you mentioned?
We do all our own silage on farm here. We have our own baler and wrapper and more. We as I said, I get out the heifers in January, and our grazing. There's only 1 month of the year really that there's no grazing here. I'd say from mid-December to mid-January. There's no animals out on farm. Anything is grazed in December. We don't cut the same land every year. We start getting slurry out the minute the opening season starts, and get land grazed off, and it's nearly most of the silage ground is grazed first, and we get on there with a couple of thousand gallons of slurry. We don't put too much slurry on it. We don't plastered or replaced with slurry or anything. We put 2,500 gallons, and then around the 1st of March we put 3 bags of cut swart to the acre, just to leave us a little bit of room. You could put more on it, but if you put too much nitrogen out on it, you won't be able to cut it early enough. The very minute the weather takes up in May, out we go, and we do it kind of in 20-acre blocks then, and we cut it and ted it and bale and wrap.
From a management point of view, what are the top 3 things that you think are essential to your system?
It's hard to put it pinpointed down to 3 now. There's a menu of things there that you really, it all comes together in the end. But really, sure, it's like I mean, the grassland management is new grass, and excellent silage is what keep you in business really. If you hadn't excellent silage, I don't mean good silage now, I mean excellent silage. At the bulls, we're in a system there that it, especially with the autumn born bulls, it'd probably make them profitless really if you hadn't silage in the diet, good excellent silage in the diet. And same as grassland management, we don't creep the calves at all, as I said, bar the spring ones for a few weeks. It's all grass and milk is putting the weight on these calves. It's our facilities are, I'd like to say, they're very good now. We invested a lot of money in housing, roadways. There's a calving camera, calving gates, fencing, weighing, crush box, and you know, really, if you're having them things, especially with bulls, like you'd want to be in the whole of your health handling at the best of times. They're not guys to be messing with, you know. We've mats on all the slats as well, which is no lameness, no injuries. Or another thing then, sure, I suppose, is the cow herself. Like these suckler cows kind of have a bad name, really, which I think is like lads have them run down and they think the show is over. I think the opposite. I think if you look after a good cow, she'll look after you. Fertile, milky cows that are quiet, and your stock bulls, then a lot of people are gone away from. They're gone a bit too easy calving. There's no power coming into the calves, and the calves can't weigh, and they won't. If they don't weigh, they won't grade. And it's really the effort has to be put in on that side of it.
That's great, James. Thanks very much. A great insight into your farming system.
Thanks, Catherine.
That's all for this week's episode, and my thanks to James for joining me on the show. You can catch up on all other shows and interviews from the Beef Edge podcast on the Teagasc website at teagasc.ie, or you can listen on Apple and Google Podcasts as well as Spotify. Don't forget to rate, review and subscribe so you never miss a show. For all other updates from our beef programme, keep an eye on our Twitter and Facebook pages. Until next time, I'm Catherine Egan. Thanks for listening.